Welcome back to Stratified, welcome back to our shop, and welcome to our 2018 WRX. You remember this car from our previous videos and our build series last year. This is our time attack car, or it was in 2021. Every time we added upgrades, we showed you guys what they did, and we went faster and faster, which was awesome. However, at the last event of the year, coming into a corner, downshifted into second, let go of the clutch, and bam! No more front diff.
So we're here in the Time Attack WRX, coming back from our last session of the season for Time Attack, and I'm not sure you can hear that noise, but I heard a bang and then the front diff is gone. So now I'm just going on the rear differential and the center diff, trying to make it back. Got a ferry to catch, so yeah. I guess it's time to swap in that STI transmission, and we found out the limit of the WRX one. 2 kilometers from the shop, we almost made it. 100 kilometers, 60 miles, with just the rear diff working and the center diff. Wow. Ooh, so close, come on to me. Acceleration is absolutely awful. I have to put it on my hazards every time I pull away from a stop. You have to be very gentle not to overwhelm the center diff, but it's still going. Woo! Haha! Made it! Wow! I can't believe this thing made it. 100 kilometers, 60 miles over the ferry, and it made it to the shop. All right, now the fun STI build, or STI transmission swap build, I guess, shall begin.
So, had to get it home on just the rear, on the rear differential, which is just going through the center diff. Was not a pleasant experience, and we want to avoid that going into this year. The car feels like it has still some untapped potential. I really like it, I love driving it, I love building it. So for this year, to start out with, we need to address the drivetrain. And of course, you all know the STI drivetrain not only bolts into this car, but it's also much stronger, and that's what we have here laid out in front of it. So let's go over the components and what we're going to be putting in the car.
I wanted to go over the different components of this STI drivetrain swap into the FA WRX. I know it's been done before, but for you guys watching our build and for you to get more details, I want to make sure that I'm thorough as possible and show you what you get, show you what you need, and give you a good idea of what's involved. So let's start right here. Right here is where the motor bolts on to the transmission, and thankfully the FA will bolt right onto this transmission, which is the STI transmission, and then you have to decide what parts need to go in there, what parts you need to replace while you're doing it. And one of them is going to be your clutch. So you need an STI specific flywheel, and this is right here, and I went with an Exetti stage 1 organic clutch. Now I went with this clutch because it's still daily drivable, and for the power level that we're going to be seeing out of this still stock motor in the WRX, we're not going to need something more aggressive. The pedal on this clutch is heavier than the stock STI pedal would be on a stock STI clutch, but it's still very much doable. It just seems to walk that really fine balance between a quality product and OEM-like product that can hold more power at the same time. Now moving on to the transmission. Chose a 2018 transmission. The reason for that is because I wanted a pretty new transmission in this car. It comes out of a V8 chassis as it is, so we don't have to worry about dimensions and drive shaft lengths and so on. So we know it'll bolt right in, but also it has the shorter gear ratios and it's a newer transmission. I'm going to be abusing it. I want to make sure that I get something that's pretty new, pretty low mileage. Got all this from eBay. It came with the transmission, the drive shaft, the rear diff, the axles, and it also came with a complete set of 4 hubs. Unfortunately, it didn't come with the brakes from the STI, but we'll address that at a later time. So the STI transmission, you're gonna see them side by side when we pull the old one out of the car, but it is a bigger, much stronger transmission. All of you Subaru guys know this. This is the holy grail of transmissions for this chassis, and it should hold the power without any issues. In the front, it's got a torsion differential. In the center, it's got a DCCD, so basically an electronically controllable rear diff that does the power split front to rear. It's also a torsion, and there's the plug that controls the diff right there. We'll go over the electronics in just a second. The shifter was all included with this, which is really nice. And then, of course, the drive shaft. This goes down the middle of the car, and then we get to the rear end. The rear end is also a torsion differential, which is good. It's the stock WRX differentials and open diff. So you've got locking diffs front to back in this car. We do have a plated diff in this car that, if you watch our previous videos, I really enjoyed. And I'm not sure if I'm gonna upgrade this R180 diff to a plated diff as well. I do want to keep the R180 because it is physically quite a bit stronger and quite a bit larger than the R160 that's in this car. So that means a bigger pinion, a bigger ring gear, a bigger diff, so it can take the abuse that you'd be subjecting it to in time attack or launching or whatnot. So I want to keep that there and upgrade it as needed. But I want to see how it performs before that. Now, in terms of other parts that you need to swap this into your car, so starter is included, which is really nice. You do need new starter bolts, and I have them from Subaru here. So there are some OEM parts that you need. This plate that mounts the shifter in the car is something else that you're going to need. And while you're in there, you might as well do some upgrades. So the clutch is obviously one of them, but also this rear bushing here, you might as well get an aftermarket one. The good people at Perrin were able to buy one from them. And also these bushings are worth changing. Again, they're pretty inexpensive. You're already in there, you're already doing the work, and you might as well do that. So that's kind of what you need to do on the hardware side. On the electronic side, eventually we're going to get an aftermarket DCCD controller, because the car, of course, doesn't come with it, being a WRX. And to set up for that, we have an iWire harness here, and this plugs into the STI transmission. This is going to plug into the OEM transmission and give us the neutral and the reverse switches off of the transmission, so the signals going into the car. And then this is going to be connected to the DCCD controller. So we're going to run the wires into the car, and we're going to connect it when we have the controller. If you don't connect the controller at all, this is always going to be basically not energized, the solenoid in here, which means that you're going to have the least lock possible. So you're going to have the most power going to the rear and the least lock possible towards the front. So, you know, in really slippery conditions like ice racing or on snow or whatever, it will not be in the ideal setting. But it's still, you can very much still operate it without the DCCD. Like I said, we'll have that in there. So there you go. Now we're going to start taking things apart. So keep following this build. It's only going to get better. It's only going to get more interesting as you see us build up this car with the STI drivetrain. So we're going to have an FA STI even before the FA STI is going to be released. So we'll call this guy the Fasty, the FA STI, and then we're going to see what other upgrades we do to it to compete again in time attack. So stay tuned and keep watching this. It's only gonna get better. Cheers, and see you next time.